What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. I'm LotusAsakura, the one who never knows best, and in today's video I want to talk to you guys about Persona 4 Revival, the remake that just got announced the other day for Persona 4. Now, this is a game that I'm pretty excited about. I'm looking forward to, you know what I'm saying? It will be a day one cop for me, and I'll be playing it without a shadow of a doubt. But there's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to this game, some negatives, some positives, a little bit of dramas, some things here or there. I just kind of have some thoughts and feelings that I want to get off my chest and just kind of address, just because I've been seeing a lot of conversation around Persona 4 and Persona 4 Revival as a game and whatnot. I just kind of want to throw my 2 cents into the ring, yeah, I mean. Now, a lot of you guys already are aware that I'm a, a decent size, like, Sega Atlas Persona fan at this point. Now, full disclosure, okay? I am a newbie. I'm still relatively new to this. I mean, my first ever Persona game was Persona 5. It is what it is. Shout out to the big homie Afro Senju for putting me on. He was a big Persona fan. He was really excited when the game came out. I was like, yo, bro, you got to try this series out. I'll buy you the game when you play it. He did. I played it. The rest is history. You know what I'm saying? Since then, I've been a fiend for every game I can get my hands on, you know what I mean? So I played Persona 5, I played Persona 5 Royal, I eventually went back and played Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Reload when that came out, and I got another slew of Atlas titles like SMT5, and I actually, spoiler alert for a future haul video, I picked up SMT4 for my 3DS, and I'll be looking forward to picking up Apocalypse as well, and Metaphor, like, what I'm saying, the list goes on and on and on. So like, it's basically anything Atlas put out these days, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that and this and that, and because that's just where I'm at with it now, yeah, what I mean? So that being said, I'm looking forward to Persona 4 Revival. Although there are some other titles I probably would have rather seen other than the P4 remake, because my first time ever playing it was actually in 2023 when I played Persona 4 Golden. I know that's like, oh, hold on, you said you played Persona 5 when it came out and it took you that long to go back. Look, see, it was like a thing where and same thing goes with P3. We ain't gotta get into all that. That's not what you're here. One of these days we can get into my whole story and background for Persona. But what I did want to talk about is the leaks, so to speak, the drama, some thoughts and opinions I have. And I guess we can kind of start with the fact that it is a little bit unfortunate that this got leaked, right? Now, one could argue that this game got leaked or confirmed that it was coming several months back when there was like a domain name that was claimed. I don't even remember what the domain was, but there was a domain name that got claimed. It was like, oh, this means Persona 4, like a Persona 4 remake is coming. And there was even like, fan-made trailers for what it could look like and all types of excitement and buzz, throughout the internet about the Persona 4 remake. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Personally, I'm still hoping for Persona 6, which it does seem like they are working on right now, somewhere in the background. However, I would say that was pretty much all but confirmed when several voice actors kind of came forward to say that they were not reprising their roles for the Persona 4 remake, basically. And, I've seen some people try to like defend some of these people. And I first of all, I get it, right? If you're somebody who's played the original Persona 4 or Persona 4 Golden back in the day, you grew up with these games, you have a special connection with these characters and those voice actors and a certain like vision of how they're supposed to be and how they're portrayed. And like, what I'm saying? Like, I get it. You have an investment in this, so I understand. And there were a lot of, fans asking like, hey, are you reprising your role? Hey, are you going to be in the remake? Hey, da-da-da-da-da, which, by the way, the remake hadn't even been confirmed or officially announced at this point. It was really just rumors and just kind of like a murmur that like could have been true or false. But once you have people who've actually worked on the project or worked on a previous, people who are in the industry and they start replying, it basically is confirming it without necessarily doing it, you know what I mean? And I don't think they were under any obligation to respond to these people. And when you're somebody who has a platform as large as some of these creators and actors do, that like, you're kind of just not supposed to acknowledge most of that stuff, like, ever, or at least until things have already been confirmed in our public. They're no strangers to NDAs and how the industry works. You're supposed to, like, no matter how many fans are asking you about this or that, if you're under NDA or if things just haven't been confirmed or just out of respect for whoever's working on the project, like, you're just not supposed to talk about that kind of thing, right? And so several actors came forward and basically said, like, I will not be the voice of so and so in the Persona 4 remake, and just basically confirming that it's a thing, which I think kind of sucks for Atlas and for the people who are working on it and the voice actors and everything, right? Like, I think that was honestly pretty unprofessional of those people to do that, even if some of those people are people that I really like and whose work I really enjoy. That was kind of whack, you know what I mean? And it makes me feel particularly bad, like I said, for the voice actors, because you're now setting them up for failure. Already all over the internet, I'm seeing this predisposition toward the game and already like outcry and outrage from a lot of fans of Personas and Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden, because their favorite character isn't going to have the same voice as they did before. And again, to some degree, I get it. You know what I mean? The first time, y'all know Dragon Ball Kai, right? I'm somebody who grew up with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z with the original Funimation dub, you know what I'm saying, back in the day. And Funimation still does the dub for Dragon Ball and everything like that, and they still did it for Kai, but some actors weren't the same anymore. So in my experience, right, we all love Chris Ayres. May he rest in peace. Shout out to Damon Mills. He's doing a great job as the new voice of Frieza. Sounds like a one-to-one match for Chris Ayres, right? But when Chris Ayres debuted as Frieza in Dragon Ball Z Kai, I'm like, who the hell is that? Because before we had Genkai, you know what I mean? Linda Young, you know what I'm saying? Her voice was what I grew up with as Frieza. Now, some of y'all younger than me, y'all might only even know Chris Ayres, or that just might have been you more exposed to, but I grew up with Linda Young, okay? And so when I heard Frieza and Kai for the first time, I'm like, who the fuck is that? That's not my Frieza. So I get it. Now, that being said, I can still acknowledge that Chris Ayres did a phenomenal job, and Damon Mills is also doing a great job, and I have no issue with it. I think it's a great voice. It fits the character. The acting is phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? And I just hope and pray that they get a fair chance from at least most people, or a lot of people, because I'm already seeing people who are like trying to write it off or already upset just because they have the information that certain characters will not be voiced by the same person. You have no idea how close the voice match will be. If it could be completely different, who knows? You don't know what their performances is like. You know what I'm saying? And like, I already saw what the Persona 3 cast, the Persona 3 Reload cast went through, you know, when that game came out, and obviously a lot of those characters, their voice roles were replaced. I mean, some of you guys may know that I'm very close friends with Sayu, aka Alejandro Saab, formerly known as, we're not going to dead name him, you know what I mean? But Alejandro Saab, aka Sayu, that's one of my close personal friends, and he voices Akihiko in Persona 3 Reload. That guy's so cool. You know what I mean? I want to be like Sayu when I grow up. But anyway, you know, I've seen like he got, trust me, plenty of love and praise, but it wasn't all cherries and rainbows, you know what I mean? So I've seen like the negative side of it as well, and it just feels like you're setting these actors up for failure before anyone even gets a chance to experience and see what they've done. And then beyond the whole voice acting thing, like, I'm already seeing people talk about, oh, the trailer looks bad, and this bulletin board was blurry, and where's the fog? And I'm like, are y'all serious? Like, are you dead ass? If I'm being honest, it feels to me almost as if this announcement was a little bit rushed and preemptive. Maybe it was in reaction to the leaks or the voice actors coming forward. Maybe they were scrambling a little bit. I don't really know. But when you look at the trailer, it's very, very, very clear. Not even just from the text in the bottom right that says like, oh, this is like, you know, early in development footage, but just looking at it with your own eyes, it's like, oh, this is very clearly a game that's not even close to releasing. I mean, when you, like I said, use your context clues, right? That you had the text at the bottom that says this is early in development footage. You see you running around the city. There's no NPCs. There's no like new music. There's no, you know, voice lines from like, you know what I'm saying? There's like almost nothing to go off of, right? And then the trailer ends and there's no release date expected, but there's not even a release year. No 2026, no 2027. So like I said, like, I personally do not expect this game to release next year. I would expect that this game releases at the earliest in 2027. And I would not be shocked if it doesn't even drop until 2028. Now that might sound crazy to some of you guys, but that's just how I feel. Because when you compare the Persona 4 Revival trailer side by side to Persona 3 Reload, when it got revealed and announced, was clearly much, much, much further along in development than Persona 4 Revival is, which tells me that they are very, very, very early in this game. The game could look completely different from what we just saw by the time it eventually gets released, which we see all the time in games. The first one that pops into my mind is Tekken 8. When that game first got revealed, people is still talking about to this day that it doesn't look anything like that first trailer did, you know what I mean, for better or worse. That being said, I personally think that it looked really good. If you're talking about the fog, or are we pretending like Persona 4 didn't have scenes where there was sunshine and it was bright and colorful, and it's like the more bright, colorful, cheery one out of like the I guess the big three, you'd say, of Persona, with 3, 4, and 5, which, by the way, 1 and 2, hello, any hot check? All right, whatever, we'll get to that more in a moment. But yeah, I think people are being way too harsh and critical and jumping the gun so much over what was such a very brief trailer, like just like a bare minimum, bare bones announcement that probably was, you know, rushed out a lot quicker and earlier than it was originally intended. You know what I mean? I think we have to put some faith and some trust into Atlus, okay, and believe that they will cook. I know, like I said, some people did not love Persona 3 Reload. Personally, I thought it was incredible. But that being said, my opinion is only worth so much on that, I guess, because for one, it's just my opinion at the end of the day, but also I didn't play Portable or the original or Fest. I will at some point, but that Persona 3 Reload was my first experience with the game, but I loved it. And I get it, you know, you would have preferred it for it to have been a definitive edition that has, you know, the FemC route, and there was some extra content that may have been missing, and then there was a whole episode Igus thing, whatever. I get it, but like, I I don't know. I don't really see any real cause for concern or immediate alarm when it comes to what we saw in that trailer. I think it's very clearly in super early stages. It's not going to release anytime soon. There's going to be a couple more years where they're working on that game, and I already think it looks good. It's probably going to look even better by the time it's all said and done. Now, that being said, there's a couple other things I want to talk about, which are just kind of some of my opinions, some of my thoughts, where, like I said, I just played Persona 4 Golden for the first time in 2023, right? Or maybe it was 2022. I've been saying 2023, but it might have been 2022. A couple of years ago, 3 years ago, right? And like I said, I loved it. And like the game isn't like the most gorgeous game I've ever seen, but I think for how old it is, it still looks pretty good. And there are multiple things I would have rather seen than a Persona 4 remake right now, right? Personally, I would have rather seen Persona 6. I would rather see a new Persona fighting games, like a Persona 5 Arena, I guess, that has like, you know, all the Persona characters all in one big fighting game. I know not everybody's a big fighting game fan, but I think P4U was a really cool game that I wish was more relevant and popular so that I could go online and just play it whenever I wanted, because that game is super, super dope. So I would love a new Persona fighting game, or if we're gonna do remakes, I would rather have remakes of 1 and 2, because those are two games that I feel like never get talked about. I haven't played for myself. I haven't experienced, and those are games that like actually are like super outdated and would turn off a lot of people, maybe even myself, wanting to go back and play them. Now I say that even though I've been going back and collecting older video games a lot lately and like playing them, and I would say I have a pretty high tolerance for going back and playing like classic and retro games. But you know, those are games that like I think could truly be brought into the light and then like, you know, acknowledged more by Atlus themselves, as well as just the Persona fan base and SMT fan base at large, because it just feels like, you know, they just never really get no love. It's always 3, 4, 5, you know what I mean? And guilty as charged, I've only played 3, 4, 5. I haven't gone back and played 1 and 2. Someday. Now, will I have to wait until they do remakes to do that? Who knows? Time will tell. But I would rather have seen any of those things, but I'm not mad at a Persona 4 remake. I think priority for me in order would have been Persona 6, Persona 1 and 2 remakes, and then like a Persona fighting game, because we've already got so many fighting games that are out or are coming out. That's like, okay, I kind of got my fill. Like I would still eat that up, you know what I'm saying? But I would have put P4 remake probably like 4th on my list of like priorities if it was up to me. But that being said, I'm seeing some people who are like, yo, why are we even like doing remakes? Like, why can't they just make a new game? I'm like, and like that one, I don't understand that at all, because like what you like Metaphor don't exist, like Unicorn Overlord don't exist, like SMT5 didn't come out. Like we can keep going back, like Catherine Full Body, like for the last several years they've been putting out new games. So like I understand they've been milking Persona 5 a lot, you know what I'm saying? And they did the P3 remake, and they did the P4 remake, but I feel like that just makes sense. And another thing as well is that like there are many people, much like myself, who got into Persona or Atlus as a developer through Persona 5. Like that's obviously like the biggest, most popular mainstream game that they've had. And so there's a lot of newcomers to the series, the franchise, and the studio, myself included. So with that being said, there's this whole catalog of really great games that a lot of people never experienced. And there are some people that have a much lower tolerance than I might have for going back and playing those types of games. So by making these remakes or these remasters, you give these new fans, these modern fans, a chance to go back and experience these games better than ever before, as opposed to having to go back, because there's some people who just won't, you know what I'm saying? There's some people who just aren't going to go back and purchase old hardware or emulate these games or experience them because they just are turned off by the graphics or like the lack of quality of life features or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying? I'm not somebody who's like that. Like I said, I've heard about Persona 1 and 2, and particularly 1, how it's like not the greatest thing to go back to. I wouldn't really know for sure, but like I've gone back and played PS1, 2. I mean, granted, I'm old enough to where I grew up with the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, Nintendo 64 and all that, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like I'm going back to something I've never played before. But if you're like a much younger fan, you know what I'm saying? Like I get it to some extent. Like if you don't want to go back and play a game that was made on the PlayStation 1 or the Super Nintendo or, you know what I'm saying, the Game Boy Advance, like I get it. Like that's fun for me, but it's not fun for everybody. So there are some people who just won't experience it. And then you could say, well, it's their loss. But I figured that the fans and Atlus only stand to gain by like remaking some of these titles or remastering some of these titles for, you know, new consumption, you know what I'm saying? And it seems to be working out pretty well for them, you know what I mean? Like I'm picking up Right Now Remastered, I got Persona 3 Reload, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be buying Persona 4 Revival. When they do these remakes and these remasters, I eat them up because I didn't play a lot of these games. But I'm also picking up the new stuff too. Like I said, Unicorn Overlord, Metaphor Refantasio. Catherine is actually a game that I never got around to picking up, but maybe I'll go add that to the cart right now. Matter of fact, while we at it. Yeah, anyway, that being said, it's like they can do both. You know what I'm saying? Like they've been doing both. They've been giving updates to games. They've been remastering remakes while also producing new titles as well. And it's been a lot of bangers. You know what I'm saying? I haven't really heard about too many games that they've put out that like weren't good, even though some might release to mixed reception. Typically that's for like the remix or remaster, where you have old fans who are like, well, I kind of preferred this version, or it was missing this or that. But when it comes to like the newer fans, I'm not saying that like newer fans should have priority over older fans. Absolutely not. Ideally, you'd be able to please them both. But it would seem to me like their success is, you know, stemming from what they have been doing as of late. So yeah, I don't know. That's basically most of what I had on my mind and what I wanted to talk about. I'm excited for it, even though it wasn't necessarily the highest thing on my priority list that I wanted to see from Atlas. I will be definitely picking it up, talking about it. Don't be shocked if I do a sponsored stream or video integration for it at some point in the future. You know what I'm saying? Persona 5 Phantom X is on the way. Same thing goes for that. Yeah, I mean, big Persona fan, getting more into SMT, other Atlas titles as well. I think the conversations right now about the voice actors is understandable to an extent, but I think some people are blowing it out of proportion because you don't know who the new cast is, what they sound like, what the performance is like. We've seen basically nothing from the game yet. So talking about the way that it looks or all these concerns that you have, I think it's just like, it's just super early, and people just kind of like fear mongering and like baiting and just all other stuff. It's just like, bro, can we just be excited? Can we just be happy? Like, do y'all like games or not? It just feels like everyone's just like, the internet is just littered with people who are just always looking to complain and argue and bitch about something. It's like, dog, like, y'all don't like nothing. And I've been told that like I'm somebody who like doesn't like anything, and I'm like, which just blows my mind. But if I'm saying y'all don't like nothing, then it really must mean something coming from me, right? I guess. Personally, I feel like I'm pretty easy to please, but I don't know. Anyway, that being said, that's pretty much all I want to get off my chest today. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit this video with a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you haven't already, so you can stay tuned for all the awesome content that I'm bringing you. With all that being said, that's pretty much all I have today. And remember, nothing can happen until you swing the bat. Later.